welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Hayden, and on this channel we talk a lot about business, primarily e-commerce, real estate, and a little bit about cars. So, if you guys are returning to the channel, welcome. In this video, I have something that has been getting asked here and there, and I wanted to kind of break down the full story on kind of I don't really like talking about money too much. I like talking about certain examples, and I want to kind of position this as an example perspective. But I want to talk about my journey with e-commerce, how the actual side of drop shipping, I hate the term, but made me a millionaire, and the things that it led to, which ultimately led to me being able to do that. I want to talk about those things. I want to talk about how dropshipping is something I actually shifted away from very quickly. So dropshipping, for those of you who don't know, is the act of doing something inside of the e-commerce industry where you are basically selling a product to someone through your website, wherever that website is hosted. You run the ads, get someone to purchase, and then once they purchase, that's when you buy from a supplier. Now, technically, there's so many things that are drop shipping, but the traditional sense inside of e-commerce means long shipping times, not too great, from Chinese suppliers. I moved away from that. I was technically still drop shipping, but I moved away from the really long shipping time, bad product quality very quickly. Because what I learned is your payment processing history is everything. Similar to actually something we're gonna talk about in this video, how your credit is very important. So I wanted to make sure that my customers had a great experience because I wanted to make sure that this was something I could do for years and years and years, not just for, you know, a 2-month period of time, a 3-month period of time, which I saw a lot of people doing. I knew that this was going to be my entry point into the things that we're going to talk about in this video, which ultimately led to me doing what I'm doing today. Okay, so when I was 15, for those of you who don't know the story, I was building Instagram influencer pages. I had about 1 million followers across multiple pages. I was starting dozens of new pages a month, seeing which ones would work, forgetting ones that didn't, and just working to grow that. People would pay me because I had 300,000 followers on one page, 80,000 followers. They'd pay me 30 bucks, 50 bucks, 200 bucks to promote their e-commerce product. That is what led me to discover the idea of e-commerce and kind of how I could get into that, because a lot of those people were drop shipping. So through that, I met a lot of people, started making some money off those pages, ended up selling some of them, and that is what led me to start traveling. Through that, I met a lot of people, got heavily into drop shipping. Drop shipping is what made me my first, like, wow, here's, you know, month over month consistency. It took me 8 months to make a single dollar in profit. Once I figured it out and it kind of clicked for me, which again took 8 months, and I went broke multiple times in that time period, I started making pretty good money. It was like $3,400 in profit one month, and it was a little over 10,000, then it was 20,000, then it was just slowly more and more, and it kind of plateaued around that $25,000, $30,000 mark, and I was sitting there for a while. Now keep in mind, when I say that $20,000 a month, I'm talking about in profit. I was doing like $50,000 to $70,000 a month in revenue. There are expenses on that, right? So my take home was a consistent 15, 20, 22, 25,000 a month, kind of would cycle here and there throughout the year. Now that was when I was 16 going on 17, right when I was 17 and a half, 18 is when I started doing YouTube stuff, traveling, and then once I was 18 I started posting about e-commerce because people kept asking me what I was doing when I would travel. So I'd be in Miami like with all my crazy friends who are big YouTubers and stuff, and here I am nobody at like 16, 17, we're renting crazy cars and on jet skis and having fun, and I was just making my money off the e-commerce stuff through drop shipping. And so it led me to be able to travel a lot at a super young age. It led to me being able to purchase my first car, and I'm gonna try and throw up as many like visual examples in this as I can. My first car, which was my BMW M4, absolute dream car of mine, I still have it. And that was kind of a huge eye-opener because shortly thereafter, a few months after that, I was starting to kind of pick up the YouTube channel. I think I had like a few thousand subscribers when I posted the video with the M4. Then I moved to Los Angeles, and that's when things really started going, right? Now, before that point, before I actually moved to LA, a lot of the people that I had known from the Instagram space were getting into e-commerce. Some of them were getting into software companies, and that actually led to me becoming a part of a software company, which didn't make me a phenomenal amount of money. At the time, it was great, but from the amount of work that was put in, I invested $25,000, which was one of like my first big investments. And at the time, that was huge because remember, the $15,000, $20,000 a month that I was making, there's tax on that. And I grew up in Minnesota, where if you're not familiar with the US state income tax, at the level of money I'm making, I wasn't exactly sure what federal was back then, and kind of what bracket, but I was at least in the 30%, low to mid 30%, plus 9.5% state income tax. So almost half of my money, pretty close to half of my money, was going to taxes, right? And so it was probably a little less, like mid 40s, 42, 45% during that first year. But so I out of the money that I had to invest, I had to pay taxes. I was able to write off some of the investments in certain things. I would recommend talking to a CPA. Regardless, I went ahead, invested into a software business. That's something I ran for about 9 months. I personally pocketed probably $80,000. It got up to the point where it was doing all right, and then the whole partnership kind of dissolved with the people that were involved. And it was still a great learning experience. I value that tremendously. I moved out to Los Angeles. I met a lot more people through that. That ultimately opened my eyes to really meeting suppliers in person. I flew to China, met suppliers there. I was able to go travel the world with some great friends for multiple months, and I met so many people. And that is what opened up the opportunity, because it wasn't the act of actually drop shipping that made me a huge portion of my money. But branching that out into real e-commerce within a pretty quick period of time, working directly with suppliers. So right now, for those of you who don't know, I have 2 main brands that I run. One of those we hold inventory for, the other we don't, okay? So one of them is technically drop shipping, one of them is not. The reason I don't hold inventory for one of them, and that's the biggest one, it's one I've been running for over 2 years, it's in the health and orthopedic space. The reason I don't own inventory for that is because for the product we are selling, our primary couple of products, it does not make sense. Our shipping times would not be faster because we have an amazing supplier, and in all reality, our product cost would barely be any cheaper. So when you factor in, let's say you're getting a product for us, it's $6, right? $6.10 per unit. If you could get that down to like $5.80 or $5.90 a unit, a little marginal difference, but now you're paying for warehouse space, people to manage that inventory, be printing labels, packaging. There's an entire operational system behind that. So for us, it made more sense to just drop that potential headache with that brand and let a supplier that we do trust and have a great relationship with manage that. So I've been able to produce well over $10 million up to now in sales with e-commerce. I've helped a lot of other people do that as well. I've also done some stuff through coaching. We have some top rated e-commerce programs. That's been a great way to bring in some additional income in my free time. I want to make it very clear that is not my main income source. That's something I do on and off. So for an example, from November of last year until just a few months ago, I took a break from that for like 7 or 8 months because I had so much work to do, especially with all the COVID stuff going on. There was so much stuff to get done inside of my actual company. So I just took a break from that. But it's something I enjoy doing, like videos like this. So ultimately, starting with drop shipping, it gave me the base of cash flow. Not using that cash flow to invest, what I first did was use that to travel. Now I want to make it clear because I love talking about this stuff because people always ask little pieces of it and I want to explain how my mind works. When I was making good money, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I was still a minor, when I was traveling, I wouldn't be looking up, where's the nearest Ritz-Carlton? How do I rent this crazy car? And I would rent, but I met the people who owned the car rental company, so I'd get amazing deals. I was looking at the single cheapest Airbnbs, where's the cheapest hotel. I had stayed at motels, and I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars because it was, instead of $100 a night, it was $70 a night. I didn't care. I just wanted to be frugal because when I was starting, I knew that you were in a position of power. From someone I'd met while traveling, they mentioned this, you're in such a position of power if you have the ability to not need to take money out of your business. So for me, I didn't need to pull much money out of the business, and I was able to, with all that additional capital, reinvest into the actual e-commerce stuff, focus more on that, new product creatives, new pictures and videos for the products, starting up new stuff, and scaling our ad spend. Back then, we were working with a lot of Instagram influencers, a lot of YouTube influencers. You have to pay for that in advance, right? So we'll pay someone $3,000 and then next week they'll go promote it. So it's an upfront expense, unlike Facebook ads or Google ads where you have a daily ad spend budget. So a little bit of a different landscape, but once I personally got to the point where I was comfortable, which was when I was 18, about to be 19, I was just kind of starting to pull money away and put it in my own personal account. It was, still leaving a lot of money in the business. I was just tucking that away. And for me, I always knew my personal long-term game was real estate, but I didn't know enough about it. I lived on the beach in California, in my favorite place that I've lived. That condo was just amazing. It was a little overpriced, but to me, spending like $50,000 or $60,000 a year in rent was worth it because of the location I was in, the people I met there, and it was truly an amazing environment. I believe that value was definitely worth it. So I just kept saving that money. And I made the decision, and I just want to talk about my financials here as open as I'm willing to be. I personally made the decision to purchase a vehicle. So up until that point, I just had my BMW. I had financed that car. It's actually still financed. It's just building credit. I guess at this point, it doesn't really matter. But that vehicle wasn't much out of pocket. My second car that I purchased, Again, I don't say this for any other purpose other than try to educate on the financial decision side of this. I purchased a 2015 Lamborghini Huracan in cash. That was a $210,000 vehicle, so $210,000, gone. However, I had that vehicle about, I'd say 7 or 8 months later, actually 3 months later, I purchased a vehicle for a family member that was also in cash. That was a gift for them. It was something that I'd always wanted to do because they helped me start the business and kind of just open bank accounts and stuff like that when I was a minor. And so a few months after that, I had gone traveling again across the world, had a great time. I came back, I was still not ready to invest in real estate. I didn't know enough, and I know that's not an excuse to not start, but I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that that wasn't gonna happen in California. I was already living in Arizona, which is one of the reasons I moved there, was for taxes and real estate. Kept studying the market. I was renting. I moved locations just so I could learn more about the different areas. I bought 2 more vehicles in cash. Now I want to make it very clear, all these vehicles I purchased, except for the gift for the family member, that was purely to them because they deserved it. But the vehicles that I bought for myself, I didn't walk into a dealership and buy a car. I didn't go to the DMV and pay $20,000 in sales tax. I paid $0 in tax on my 3 extra vehicles I purchased, right? I bought the Lamborghini Huracan for $210,000. Then I bought back-to-back 2 days in a row. I bought the Audi R8 for $86,000, and I bought the Nissan GTR for $48,000. Those vehicles I purchased at a strategic time in the market where they wouldn't really depreciate a ton in value. I knew I was gonna take a hit on the Audi R8. I was gonna flip it, but I fell in love with the vehicle, so I decided to keep it. Now, I moved a chunk of that money into vehicles. The reason I did it in cash is so that I would feel like I had depleted a lot of my capital, which in turn actually did work wonders because I wanted to try this out. Getting rid of your capital forces you to make new money. And it's actually a very valuable thing that I value now. Getting rid of money forces you to keep making new money and you feel like you don't have it. So I push it into assets, and some people might be like, oh, a car is not an asset, that's depreciating. Yeah, you might have, for an example, I sold the GTR for $55,000. I owned it for a year, I bought it for $48,000. There was expenses on that, right? I'd done a wrap on the car and some random stuff that I could write off, and there was insurance and there was gas and there was probably $500 in maintenance, but that vehicle, regardless, made me at least break even, right? I'm not losing money on the vehicle. And I'm sure I'd made probably 2 YouTube videos that each made a few $100s. So roughly those vehicles come out to break even. My goal is not to profit with them. However, I'm not gonna go lose a ton of money in a car. It doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, and so I was just pushing money. At the end of that year, which was a few months after I purchased those 2 additional vehicles, the Audi and the Nissan GTR, I purchased 3 properties back to back 3 months in a row because I was ready to strike. I saw that there was 3 opportunities available. They weren't back to back, it was a month apart, but I saw that there were deals. I was looking. I looked at some, I was like, this is great, but it's not the right deal, pass. This is great, it's not the right deal, pass. I also didn't focus on finding the best home run deal that made the perfect sense. I bought high quality properties. They were above what I wanted to pay because what I wanted to focus on in my first 3 deals, and this is just real estate talk here for anyone who cares, the thing I wanted to focus on was having key areas where the market rent will also increase as well as the appreciation for the property. So I could have bought properties in other locations around where I bought my rentals that weren't as nice, where the property values were lower, but also the rents were lower. So the actual comp would have been the same. I'm sure it would have been a little bit less out of pocket because it's a cheaper property to purchase. But ultimately, I wanted those additional tax benefits. I wanted more mortgage principal paid on every single month, and I wanted more potential upside for the appreciation. Now, there's an argument there with the appreciation, but I know those areas. Again, I waited a long time to buy so that I really knew the areas that I was buying in. I bought 2 single family homes. It went 1 single family, then a duplex, and then another single family. Then I didn't see anything else. I saw the prices getting really high. COVID struck, so I just wanted to see what was going on. Everything's happening, right? Things are going bananas. Market's going crazy from stocks. I had put a lot of money into the stock market, pulled a lot out. I made a little bit of profit there. And then what I did is I was waiting. I was looking for more investment properties. I didn't see anything in that sub $500,000 price. The market in Arizona, in my opinion, is becoming way overpriced. There's still deals to be had. It's just a very expensive state in that price range. Now, I decided to purchase a home, which is where I'm sitting right now, for myself for slightly under $1 million. I'm just trying to be as open as possible here. Again, this is purely for educational purposes. I view this house and this class of house, where there's a lot of different deals like this that I saw, to easily, and I'll break this down in another video where I talk about my renovation plans that are about to begin, but easily valued at a few $100,000 more than everybody is selling them for right now. I see that happening because that smaller priced home, sub 5,000, had a nice shift. Those homes were 250,000, 220,000 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Now they're all 375, 440, $490,000. I am waiting to see that jump in the bigger homes because at the end of the day, the house that I bought, I wouldn't have thought twice about it. I wouldn't even have thought that it was suspicious if this house was listed for $250,000 more than it was sold for. So I just feel like that class of house has a bump to go up in the market, especially with the way the market's going. So we'll see what happens. It's like a 3 to 5 year hold for me. It's an investment, but also a place of primary residency for right now. So a lot of fun stuff coming there. Again, I'll make a video on it. But to summarize this, the drop shipping for me was an entry point. Right? It wasn't the only way that I made that first $1 million. I started even getting into hard money lending a little bit. I had done certain loans. I had been making money in software. I had done stuff with e-commerce. I started making a little bit inside of that first $1 million off of YouTube. A couple of people who wanted me to help them with their advertising, so coaching them through that. I think one person had a supplement company that they were running on ClickFunnels, which that's what you see this award for. They've gotten now, I think, the 8 Comma Club award, which means they were doing all their sales through ClickFunnels, and they did over $10 million in sales, which is awesome to see. So I was able to work with some really cool people. I met clothing companies in Paris. I was able to go visit them when I was there that I helped with their marketing. So it was a lot of fun to meet people, be able to travel because of that, and that unlocks a lot more opportunities. You know, even being able to get in the room with CEOs of companies worth tens of billions of dollars, people who work with the top celebrities and artists, and being able to be around that, be invited to the parties, sitting, I think I was maybe 18 years old, sitting in a club next to Wiz Khalifa at his table while my friend is literally walking over there smoking a joint with Wiz. Like, seeing that stuff, I don't smoke or drink personally, but I mean, just seeing that was like, it was a huge eye opener. And that all came from that base of first starting in e-commerce through dropshipping, which obviously led to multiple things in the e-commerce space, which led to me being able to network, meet a lot of people, because now I had the money to travel, and I had something going for me that I could show. And it ultimately led to a lot of different things. And you know, for me, it's just an amazing skill to have. E-commerce is a lot of fun. I truly enjoy doing it, which is why I do it to this day. And I've been able to continue to increase doing it at a higher and higher level. You know, back then, $3,000, $5,000 a day in sales was great. You're making $1,000 a day profit. Well, I mean, now we have periods where we're crushing $70,000 to $100,000 a day consistently. So it just depends on the time of the year and what we're doing with our ads and what our main focus is, as well as how much inventory that supplier can produce. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been an amazing journey. I hope you guys have followed along here on the YouTube channel. I've pretty much shown it all. If you go really far back to the old videos, which are definitely cringy, so don't do that. There's like random vlogs in Miami when I was 15, 16. There's stuff in Los Angeles when I was 16 and traveling all around. And there's just fun stuff before I started ever mentioning what it is I do. So you can kind of date all that back, but I think there's like 800 videos on the channel now, which is awesome. So I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, I hope this story time kind of broke down my journey a little bit better and answered that question. I know a lot of people have been asking just for kind of how I move inside of the e-commerce space. People ask if I still dropship and what it is I do. You know, you start with one thing, you slowly build off of that and branch out, and it just leads to other stuff. So it's truly been a blessing. I have been having a lot of fun learning, a lot of fun making mistakes. It's all just a good learning experience. So again, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all, I'm gonna be as active as possible in the comment section. I've been super busy kind of trying to lead into Q4 here, but I will make time to go through the comment section. So I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash a like, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, I will be seeing you in the next video. Peace.